Behold, the story of Outlast trials when it started.
The story starts with the Went picking up a promo poster of what seems to be a medical experiment, taking advantage of the vulnerable people, claiming to give them some sort of purpose of a better life.
Now, are you lost, lonely, poor, confused? We want you. Let the miracles of science give you purpose. The world owes you everything. Now, it's such a harmless-looking flyer, doesn't it?
It's cute, but we know better,
And quickly
right?
over the poster, the nature of this experiment is soon revealed, as the organization conducting it is called MrMaskYT Corporation.
This takes way before the first or second game.
I was gonna say, I was able, once I saw the art, I was like, okay, this makes a lot more sense. And them using real tapes.
And here's how it goes when he went to go be a part of that charitable outreach.
Arriving at the facilities, the protagonist observes the severity and barbaric experiments, if you can call it that, being performed on the volunteers as soon as his blindfold is removed. The doctor injects something into the protagonist which seemingly numbs and relaxes him so he wouldn't thrash around during the painful tests. The other doctor mockingly nods the protagonist's head to show approval of what's to come. That's when
It's fucked up.
She literally asked...
I love it. I think they did that before in the first game. He's like,
Yep, the
what's
literally
that?
way she said...
You wanna be a part of the initiation? He's like, I think I heard that too. They beat his ass. I remember that.
And this guy, she literally...
God.
She says it in the most monotone way of saying, do you consent to Murkoff experimentation of your rebirth therapy? And that's when he walks over and grabs your head and makes you nod.
night vision goggle is permanently drilled into the
Yeah, look right
protagonist's
here.
skull, so they can use it when they need to, displaying the organization has sinister plans for them. Having the option to choose between a male or
No
female
anesthesia or
character
anything.
right there, the protagonist awakens in a highly monitored...
You know what?
I said no anesthesia.
Well, that one shot she gave him, but I don't think drilling in your skull is
it
going
was
to
a
do
numb.
much.
It was a numb. Well, I meant like you're not even asleep, so you're literally.
And fortified
Yeah.
place
And look, here's
consisting of a
the-
mock house with a sign ordering the test subjects to erase their past, so they can become the
I was gonna
new
say, I'm sure he woke up with like the worst headache possible after the fucking drill.
More
with
than likely.
those giant screws in their head, like they're in a fucking saw trap.
Well, they're going right in your temple, so what does that tell you?
You have a permanent headache forever.
blank canvas that can be shaped or molded into anything they want.
Hey, and whoever wants to bitch and moan about pausing, we're not going to sit here and stare at the video the entire time and say nothing.
Yeah.
While trying to find the snitch to pass his level of triumph,
The
the protagonist
snitch.
gets attacked by the pusher once again, who has
a
a
little
fumigator,
bitch.
spraying
That
a
is- that is the-
hallucinogenic gas, which
That is the name of the mission, Kill the Snitch. One of their workers that had morals and tried to whistleblow the entire operation.
we
I
encounter
love
here is Sergeant Lee.
collection for Outlast. Like, it's always just so creepy looking, and they do a great job with like some of the most uncomfortable, like grungy and dirty designs
Yeah.
possible. Like, they've always done so good with it.
As he said, these were people who were put in the test, but they failed, but they'd rather keep them alive because of their abilities and being semi-brainwashed already. To just
Yeah,
go
like
and-
the color palette is cool too, because it's like, and this is more of like my creative side coming in. Like, I love a good color palette. I mean, which is ironic considering like the game's all gray and monochrome and drab, you know, like with greens and washed out colors because it's like
You would
it's just
expect
such
it.
a
You
dirty
expect it to
environment.
be very bland in color, but surprisingly, there's a lot of color. This guy with the fucking electric baton and battery pack, and the newest one, he has a sawed-off shotgun.
That's awesome. That should kill you instantly.
But here's the thing: even they said we need to take the gun from him because they didn't build the facility for firearms and such. Hickerman goes off about a whole explanation of why they can't take the gun away from him, so they give him blanks. But do you know what he does with the blanks?
He fucking reinforces them with like pellets.
No, he rips the teeth out of dead corpses and puts the teeth in the empty shells.
Oh, that's so cool. That's awesome.
They polluted the water and tried to mind control people with some success. The biggest
And the
project,
fucking
on the other
humans
hand,
gay.
becomes the morphogenic engine and nanite swarm known as the Wall Rider, which is activated through enduring extreme pain, both physically and psychologically, summoning this entity through lucid dreaming. They also perform another big test in an Indian reserve where they use use religion to control people and make them believe there is a doomsday coming.
Now, explain to me everything that you saw a real glimpse of. How the hell would any of this have to do with war?
Listen, dude, you're creating the perfect man who can't sleep, who goes through the most brutal trials to just be a blank canvas and immune to the worst things ever, okay? You gotta teach those commies a lesson, especially if they're gonna break you.
And comparative to what Murkoff puts him through, you assume nothing their torture will be nothing in comparison.
I mean, they literally, like, the Vietnamese used to just shit on fucking bamboo spikes.
Becoming what he is now, enjoying his deluded job as a sergeant murderer and torturer with no one batting an eye, probably his ideal type of job being the psychotic cop he was.
So you kinda see why they called him the prime assets.
Yeah, they're the ones that are like voluntarily were like, I want to kill people.
The ventriloquist dog puppet she carries is often referred to as Daddy, as it is also a representation of her abusive father, hence why having a dangerous drill covered in its mouth, a representation of how hurtful the words of her father was, being similar to a painful drill. The nightmarish skinner man we also see during hallucinations could be a representation of Dr. Easterman, a horrifying mysterious person who runs the experiments, which has caused many of the test subjects see this monster as a warped and twisted version of Dr. Easterman, hunting them and making them lose their sanity.
It's the
Right,
War
folks,
Rider.
that's about it.
So that kind of gives you the explanation. This is when the game first came out.
Yeah, I figured, because it's just like, I was like, there are still unknown stuff, so there's probably a whole fucking Wikipedia page about everyone. All the doctors just have like monochrome palettes just to show like they're just so lost.
And they
Like,
just stand there,
not even
and they
human.
just stand there watching.
They're not really caring. They just like, it just shows like the contrast of like,
You're just a number
exactly. I
of
think
this brutality of what's occurring, and you're just a number. What do you think that tool is even used for?
with that gun.
No, the one next to it, that weird looking fork thing.
The fork is usually used for. There's an actual use for it. I think it's used for
You've got all the normal stand. You got the scalpels. You've got. I'm assuming that's the tweezers. That's for snipping maybe some cartilage.
Over the course of her tenure on the show, she used her television platform and her mail order dental drops business to get children addicted to narcotics, violence, theft, and possibly murder.
So see what I mean by how the hell were they on the streets for so long?
Yeah. Jesus Christ. These are like fucking Arkham patients. This is fucking Gotham City.
So as you saw, she basically was getting these kids hooked on narcotics and everything, and then...
Yeah.
My favorite quote Dr. Futterman yells at reagents is, "Not so fast, you chomo shits."
I'm assuming you know the slang, right?
Of course. I watched 6 days.
Dr. Daddy, we'll just have to peel those frownies off and make some adjustments.
God damn. That was fucking cool.
Like, as any
Here we have
scientist,
some concept art for
even if you weren't, like, amoral, you would think, like, how the hell do we even let this person be alive?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I mean, because you always want to have like that hope that people get better, but it's like
They don't
I
give
get
a
it.
shit if they're getting better in this place. It's Murkoff.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, then again, she ended up in Murkoff of all places, so it's like, yeah,
Also,
that ship's far from settled.
Also, look at this early concept of her.
I was gonna mention that, like, she's far more reserved than that, and she got a robot arm.
Someone would say they'd do her.
Listen, hear me out.
You can see where they're getting closer to the new one.
Yeah, I love that look. Hold on, go back.
With the
2
staple.
seconds. The face. Go back to the few seconds. Yeah, I love that face. Like, it's like a broken porcelain doll.
Dr. Futterman looks a bit more duck-like in these images, but he retains the top hat and bow tie. Then finally we
Yep,
have
there
a
she
picture
is.
of Gooseberry looking similar
Yep.
to the game. Her name is taken from Mother Goose, who is a legendary figure in folklore and children's literature. She is often depicted as an elderly woman who is the author or compiler of nursery rhymes and children's songs.
God damn.
So you see how dangerous that fucking equipment he made is.
There's an overcharge on that shit.
And he's strong as hell, as you saw, to basically lift him with the baton. So there's really no fighting back because how freakishly strong they are.
He is a corrupt, delusional police officer with a distorted notion of the law. So just your average policeman. By the time he was a teen, his criminal activities caught the attention of a local chapter, and he was recruited into the Ku Klux Klan. Coyle first married...
Oh, did you think I was joking?
No, I did. I mean, I always think you're telling the truth, but I always hear, I'm like, oh.
But his wife died 6 months later after a fatal fall down the stairs. Coyle then joined the US Marines to avoid investigation.
How do you avoid investigation by just joining the Marines?
That was very common. It was more than you think. For like if they wanted to escape like criminal stuff, like I know this was like a thing during Vietnam where they would join.
Back then, if you murder someone, you just before they start investigating, you just go join the military.
I mean, nowadays it's practically impossible. I mean, some people get away, yeah. Practically impossible.
Coyle was then promoted to a sergeant and then married a third time. His third wife committed suicide 6 months after.
I'm so fucking happy that he doesn't sugarcoat the dark topics. This is like a big pet peeve of mine. Like,
really,
I think you know what you're gonna know what I'm gonna get into. But it's like they have these dark topics of like crime and horror, right? Yeah. But they censored the shit and say words like unalive. Oh, they you know what I mean? They
get why they do it though.
Oh, but it's fucking stupid.
But it's YouTube's fault for that. Because they don't like those words.
But there's other people who do say it and they don't get
because they got paid. They don't care about the revenue. They got Patreon or something.
I mean, even then, it's just so dumb.
So they've been watching him this entire time, Murkoff.
They're fucking
right
fans.
Here. No, right here. Look, Sergeant Leland Coyle observes standing in a field watching a lightning storm on 5 separate occasions during surveillance. It makes you wonder how long have they been watching them too? Because they said on 5 separate occasions during surveillance.
One of the sketches has him looking more like a cowboy or a sheriff, perhaps harken back to his humble childhood on a farm. He has a cap similar to the SS officer's hat.
Makes sense.
With a metal insignia.
Oh, another thing with the mom though. What made him learn that much about electricity growing up in the country that, like, how did he learn that it could come up the pipes and cook them? From where though? Because it's like, because they didn't, this is way back then, so they didn't have like television and stuff. So he had to have seen it, similar to the cow, or someone told him.
Actually,
perhaps the Nazi uniform would have been heavy-handed, considering the evidence files let the player know he was part of the KKK, and that he's always calling us pinkos. Seems like they took elements from each iteration in the final design.
Yeah, there it is. This is footage you actually see before you go to unlock the doors and start the mission.
He pursues reagents, hurling sexually charged insults at them, often sexually assaulting test subjects, electrifying the genitals of mannequins, and occasionally electrocuting his own groin.
He's a fucking electrofascist.
He is a masochist, as they said in the files.
He has a large scar or burn on his right cheek, likely caused by a self-inflicted electrical burn. You got to get wretched, down in the gutter, with all the hopheads and dopers, and perverts and devils. I done my time in the gutter. I earned every bit of ugly I got.
Honestly, he might be the most insane one. Like, at least with like Mother Gooseberry, you have like a sympathetic side, like not like empathetic, because you get why she ended up the way she did. This guy was just fucked in the head.
He, from the moment of birth, he was fucked in the head.
Yeah. This guy is just fucked up by affiliation, just like, you know, being a KKK member and just a white supremacist and shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
Skinner Man does not physically attack the reagents, instead inflicting harm upon them through sheer proximity. He disappears through the floor after the reagent takes a nearby antidote. The Skinner Man materializes as a tall, monochromatic figure donning a black suit, bearing a loose resemblance to Dr. Easterman. He has human hands with nightmarish long nails. We cannot see any other flesh, as the upper parts of his body are enveloped in a shroud of black mist.
Yeah.
I think the tall man in a suit has a striking resemblance to Slender Man. Initially, you might think the Skinner in Skinner Man means a person who skins animals or prepares skins, but I think the name is a reference to the Skinner box, named after and created by B.F. Skinner.
You can tell his fucking father hated him.
He looks like Art of Tyrion, like Tyrion Lannister from fucking Game of Thrones.
He makes fucking Tyrion look like a fucking runway model.
He looks like Freaky Fred from fucking Courage the Cowardly Dog.
No, he makes Fred look normal.
Oh my god, I thought that was just like...
That's how far he sawed off the shotgun.
Yeah, he might be Farted.
It's a break action, so it only holds 2 shots, but even then...
His impotency could be a contributing factor to these murders. He compensates for this with his shotgun, which he calls Lupara, often ending in a bloodbath. In spite of this, he has an affair with his stepmother, Angelina Barbie, who is only a few years older than him. However, he falls back into old habits and restarts his extracurricular violent murders.
Movie just shows you the CIA picks up anybody to do their dirty work.
Yeah. If you can literally do anything, so as long as you murder under their payroll.
Yeah, and when you start getting out of it, they're like, you're getting too much for us.
Yeah, you're too crazy, dude, even for us. Yeah, that's a real short. I thought that was like a deagle he was holding.
No, dude, he cut that double barrel down far.
Yeah,
I'm like,
okay.
that's gonna like, you'll have no aim with that.
The range is fucking terrible.
Jenny is found, brutally
Oh my
murdered,
God.
with her belly cut open and innards exposed. Franco emerges from Jenny's mutilated stomach, yelling at Clyde not to touch his
Oh my
Lupara
God.
and whining like a newborn baby. The two fight, and Franco gains the upper hand, beating and disarming Clyde and blasting his leg with Lupara. Franco wears a white striped suit and blue bow tie.
He has like this infant obsession.
Yeah, he's like, well, because remember, his father didn't care about him until he murdered someone.
We know his mother died. I originally thought this was during childbirth, but there is a line of dialogue where Franco claims that his father murdered his mother.
I never knew my real mother. My father killed my mother. You know that? Doctors, you listening? I had a new mom every year.
Franco has deformities which look like birth defects. We could assume that it was a difficult birth, and could be why the father has contempt for his son.
Put a bag over that goose puppet. Pour a little Chianti. Put old Blue Eyes on. Oh, she'd crush me like a hot little grape.
So,
Yeah, like I said, he's a real kinky fuck.
The informant in the comics says Franco collects nipples. These are souvenirs taken from his murder victims. We see severed
yeah, I see.
breasts crudely attached to milk bottles scattered around the trial, which Franco presumably drinks milk from. Franco is implied to be a drinker in the comic.
It's
The
getting
informant
nitty.
says that he drinks a cocktail named Wolf's Milk.
Has someone tried this?
I don't fucking know. It's a real drink. I'm not 100%
Well,
sure.
the real ingredients is what I'm saying. You can buy all this stuff.
I know, but the head is the thing. I've never heard of this shit before. Oh, so someone did make it from this.
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I thought it was just like a random thing you found.
No. Those are real ingredients that you can make with amaretto. Yeah, I have amaretto's like
2 parts milk and egg white.
Oh,
Yeah, look,
real
this is how you find them.
Franco uses the pacifier to calm himself and also make up for the lack of maternal bond. The docks environment was built specifically for Franco. In the area is a fully functioning heroin refinery. Moses scarf.
I just didn't expect to hear
A fully
that.
functioning heroin facility.
Yeah, it's just fucking. They're just making drugs.
It's such a strange of like them discussing building
Lastly,
these things.
I want to talk about
Yeah.
Easterman.
But yeah, that's his whole Bambino. Anything you like to say at the end, Atticus?
Yeah, I mean, make sure you if you're a mom, make sure you let your child suck on your tits.
Don't
Otherwise,
say it
you'll end
like
up
that.
with a boy here.
Could have just said breastfeed your kid.
You could, all right, retake that and actually keep it in mask before they start cutting nipples off and putting them on bottles.
Sure, let's go with that.